I am Emily Zotto Barnum. I'm one of the counselors. Nice to see all of you again. I have students with last names H through M, so I'm sort of right smack in the middle of the alphabet. And my fabulous colleagues over here, Rachel Sturma, Stripes, has A through G. And Julie Mazzola, Snakeskin, has N through C. And we have a very brief agenda. We promise not to keep you. You guys can go have a glass of wine after. We won't keep you a long time. What? We are really silly. We like to have a good time. We laugh a lot. We love the children. We want you to know not to worry about anything. The purpose of us getting together tonight is certainly to review a couple of things pertinent to sophomore year and thinking about development, post-secondary planning a little bit, but really just so you have a sense of who we are and so we have a stronger sense of you as parents and caregivers and just the goal of developing the relationship and spending time with you. I think sophomore year is a tricky year. You feel like you're just kind of, you've just figured out freshman year, you're coming back, you're scrambling doing summer work, the holidays happen, mid-years, and then all of a sudden we're thinking about junior and senior year and what's happening. So we just want to make sure that we spend some time with you, we check in, we answer any questions that you have. Maybe we'll be totally off base tonight, and these are things you don't want to talk about at all, and that's also fine. So if you would like to talk about something, you have questions, please feel free to raise your hand and ask. Our very brief, can you go back to that for 2 seconds, please? So today we're gonna just briefly be talking about our sophomore seminars, course selection, extracurricular activities, and our timeline. The sophomore seminars, we in the past have paired them with this evening event, just as we'll do with the junior seminars for next year. However, there were some scheduling conflicts this year, just a lot of things going on with the English department and our department, so we will meet with the students in March instead. And obviously the sophomores have MCAS, so we didn't want to interfere with that either, and that's really important right now with the English department. So we will wait until towards the end of the March, we'll meet with the students. We found a few years ago meeting with, yes? You can't hear me? Is this better? Okay, sorry. I feel like I'm really loud down here, but thank you, I appreciate it. Okay, so I don't know if you could hear me about the dates for sophomore seminars. So we are planning to see the sophomores towards the end of March. Typically in the past, we have paired them with our parent events, and so you are getting the same information as your children at home, but we are pushing back because of MCAS and some scheduling conflicts. So the content of the sophomore seminars, to some extent, is like very broad strokes focused on post-secondary planning and thinking about life after high school. However, the content is a little bit different perhaps than in years past. We're doing something with the students that's more interactive, role play, scenario based. I'll get into that in the next slide, with a focus of skill development. You might have heard the term or use the term soft skills. We like to think about them more as essential skills, and we'll talk about that in a second. The second thing that we'd like to speak about tonight is course selection. So that process and timeline is just being finalized this week and will be communicated out to all students and families in the next couple of days and week. You may have already received something, I don't know, from our main office about our program of studies night, but I'll talk about that in a sec. Third, extracurricular activities, so an activity that students participate in after high school ends. So when that bell rings at 2:30, what are those students going on to do? Are they spending time in the theater program? Are they babysitting? Is there childcare responsibility at home? Are they participating in 3 sports all year round? Whatever the activity is, if there's something structured that's after the bell rings, we consider that an extracurricular activity. We will talk about sort of the importance of being involved in this community, helping to shape the values and the culture here, and why that's so important overall. And then finally, we'll talk just very briefly about a timeline, what that looks like for you as families and for the students. And again, just want to reassure you a million times over, we will take care of your children. We will not let them fall through the cracks. We will make sure that they are on track for every single little item and opportunity between now and planning for after graduation and up until through graduation as well. So the sophomore seminars, we had kind of found that we knew it was really important to check in with the sophomores. We see students in classrooms occasionally. We see students in small groups in their grade 9 classes, in the PE classes. You might remember that. We will also see students every year for course selection individually. However, when meeting with the sophomores a few years ago, we sort of felt like we didn't want our relationship and our focus to always be about post-secondary planning and specifically for our community, college admissions, and so we were finding that our sophomore seminars and content and conversations tended to be like a diet version of our junior seminars and conversation. And so what we don't want to hyper-focus on, and therefore by extension encourage, is any additional academic stress and worry about the post-secondary planning process, because really the process is fun and exciting, and the application part of it is really just an application part of it. It's just a lot of nuts and bolts, but the exciting, fun, and important part is that of self-reflection and self-discovery and thinking about what environments are helpful to students, where their strengths are, where they find they benefit most, and what they're most excited about. And so we have since considered that and tailoring our conversations and our focus with the students, thinking about social emotional learning and focusing on that as a priority. As many of you know, the district's priority, number 1 priority is social emotional well-being, and so tied into that, there are a number of activities throughout the district focused on like the large umbrella of social and emotional learning. And what that means for us as counselors is that we are working with students in classrooms on role-playing, very real-life scenario-based discussions that help promote social emotional learning skills. So under sort of general competency areas around self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, responsible decision-making, we might think about those as competencies, and within those, some of the skills that we're really honing in on would be interpersonal skills, communication skills, whether that's oral or written, say for example, internet etiquette or email communication etiquette, what that looks like to a teacher, and making those examples and role plays very concrete. In terms of relationship development and relationship skills, interpersonal skill development, we talk about how to manage a situation for students when you are out for several days, whether that's been because you had the flu or you had a concussion or an injury, how to then follow up with your teachers or your counselor and not lose track of time, but also develop that relationship with a teacher. So being responsible for yourself, taking that responsibility and connecting with the teachers and the faculty in the building. So those are just 2 examples. So the focus of our sophomore seminar is, of course, to spend some time with your children and to develop that relationship with us. Who here has, I should have asked you earlier, I'm sorry, who has an older child that's been through the process of graduating high school before? Great, awesome, some veterans in here. So you know that time goes by quickly and it can be very stressful, and that the counselors are an instrumental and very important but fun part of the process, and we want to make sure that we are spending time with your children too and getting to know them in and outside of the classroom too. So we actually really enjoy it. It's a great couple weeks. So, and actually it's kind of nice that this year it will be paired with our course selection process. So that is our next slide, but I'm just going to talk about Naviance briefly. So for those of you who have gone through this process before, you'll probably remember that we have Naviance. We call it Naviance Family Connection. It's a web-based program that for seniors kind of largely becomes their hub for the application process, but in sophomore and early junior year really can be used more of an exploration tool. So for our school, we have a subscription to the program, and a couple of the tools offer students an opportunity to explore through what they call a strengths explorer and also a career interest inventory. So essentially a couple different questionnaires. One's more scenario based and language heavy than the other. The outcome is that it will show students the possible careers that may match their strengths, their interests, and their values, and or their personality types. Show the students exactly how much college and or level of preparation you may need for those particular careers. You can then click on the particular career and the level of preparation, look at various schools that offer programs, look at the median salary across the country and see what that looks like, get a more concrete feel for what the types of skills and job responsibilities would be. So those are just the types of things that Naviance will offer. While we have activated your accounts for the students and the parents, we have not yet sent those out, so those will be forthcoming. If you have an older student that's already graduated or that's in junior year or senior year and you already have an account as a parent, we will just be able to link your accounts. And if for some reason you run into a challenge with that, just email somebody in our office and we'll get you linked to your other student. So what I was going to say about course selection is that it's actually will be really nice timing. We will have just seen your children towards the end of March, and we will then almost right after be going into course selection season. And you may remember that every year the counselors will sit down with every individual student. So we've just finalized our program of studies night. That will be an evening when parents and families, any students can come too, so any current parents and families, any incoming grade 9 families, and any prospective new students or our very newly registered students for next year will be invited to come to the high school. The format has been, and I anticipate will look fairly similar, will be a presentation by the administration, perhaps the counselors to some extent, and the content leaders for each department will be available to discuss the process, any questions you have around curriculum, kind of what to expect at each grade level and what you might be hoping for, discuss opportunities. And I haven't talked to Mr. Coat again about finalizing our plans in the years past. We've had like an AP, we called it AP night, but an AP session to talk about the advantages of taking an AP level course, who might be eligible for that, what the process is for that, how you might access that, and then just kind of tying that into the overall course selection process. So if you're curious about that, you can reach out to me, and that would actually be really helpful to me if that is something that's interesting to you, because then we can do kind of like an offshoot session. So in terms of course selection, that will be the student and family event. In terms of the overall timeline, the process will begin sort of end February, March. Teachers will begin to have conversations with students about their core course recommendations for 2021 school year. And as usual, there will be a course placement review process. So if a student or family disagrees or wants to do something different with their core course recommendation, they can go through the process of what you might remember as override or sort of underwriting. We're trying to get away from that language, but reviewing their placement. And we'll have that process. There will be a deadline, and then the counselors will meet with students in April to review their core course recommendations, any course placement review, lingering graduation requirements. But really, at this point, starts to become more fun to talk about what the students have really enjoyed, what they might like to take next year, and how we can tailor their schedule to a program that's really exciting for them. So that's that. Something to think about that we've found is that junior year is particularly stressful. I think that it's a lot of weight on the students' shoulders. So while freshman year, the students spend a lot of time trying to acclimate to a new community, transition to the culture of Swampscott High School, expectations of the teachers, kind of what that looks and feels like, achieving success in all of their courses, taking some graduation requirements. And sophomore year, they're continuing on that path, probably finishing up a lot of those graduation requirements, hopefully being able to take some of the electives that they've been excited about. And then junior year, things kind of open up to them a little bit more around the electives, but also the junior year is thought to be one of the more important years, although I'm sure you've heard me say before that I argue that all of them are the most important years, that junior year will be the last time that a teacher, the instructors, have seen the students at their most grown and most advanced level in the classroom. So that's why you may hear that junior year is a really important year. So there is a lot of stress around that, and there has been, in particular, two major projects and assignments in papers, one for U.S. history and the other one for English. And those are long-term assignments that start in the fall that are chunked into smaller manageable parts, but they do weigh a lot in terms of the students' coursework. And the students just tend to have a lot of academic stress in junior year. That's just something that we find. Again, will be one of those social emotional learning skills that we'll cover in the sophomore seminars, regarding self-management and thinking about how do you manage your stress and what are your resources here around you, and how you can leverage those resources. So just that's something to think about for you as parents as you coach your students on the course selection process, that the junior year is an important year, but it is also a very stressful year. And a message that we will always send every year is that this process of going through high school and planning for your future is so highly individualized that we very much support the students in following their own path and at their own pace, and just comparing themselves to their best version of themselves and whatever is appropriate for them. And that's really important and okay. That, you know, an AP US history might be good for your friend, it may not be good for you, or 2 AP level classes may be perfect for you, but not, you know, your peer or your older brother or your younger sister. That everyone really is on their own path, and to think about the big picture of what junior year will look like, and to maintain some serious balance for your student. I saw a hand. Yes. Hi. Yeah, so say that again. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Sure. I guess, like, by a show of hands, would people be interested in having an AP session? Yeah? Okay. All right, great. So it's just something in years past. I don't know if you could hear Linda's question was if you are interested, if you wanted to reach out to me. Certainly reach out to me. Also, if you want a quick email would be fine. Just to get a sense of interest if people would be wanting to see that. So in years past, like I said, we've talked about a number of things. We've shown a little bit of data, some 5-year trends. Again, like, we are not AP course pushers. The idea of always is what's best for one student is not necessarily best for another. So it's not a one size fits all, but to make sure that you understand the opportunities that are available to your children, and what that means and what the implications are for that, good and bad and ugly and all and indifferent. Any other questions? Any other thoughts? No. Okay. I think one of you is up. Yeah. No, I think I'm good.
Hi, everybody. So in regards to extracurricular activities, we just wanted to talk about the activities that the students are engaging in. We will certainly cover this as one of the pieces of our sophomore seminar, talking to the students about finding things that they can get involved in after school. Some students do this right when they enter 9th grade, but some are a little bit more slow to find things that they are engaging in after school. We talk to them about the importance of getting out there and finding something that they're interested in. The high school, we'll send this presentation out, and it will link to all of our groups and clubs, and then our athletics have their own website. But we have so many opportunities here at school for kids to try something new and get involved. And we do find it's very important that they expose themselves to something new, or just don't go home every day and sit on the couch and either watch TV or play video games and just do your homework. We want them engaging with each other, building peer relationships, being on a team, working together, and getting that other side of high school that's so important. And we tell the students that, you know, if you already know what your passion is, fantastic, please pursue it. But high school is the time to try new things and find something. You know, as graduation requirements, we require them to take a few electives. So that's the perfect time to try an art class if you've never tried. You don't have to be an artist to take the art class. The point is, it's an introductory, and it may be something you love doing, and if you've never done it before, now's the time to try. So the students should take advantage of our opportunities during the day and after school. We also don't want students to feel like they need to do a little bit of everything. You don't need to be the jack of all trades and the master of none. You don't need a resume with 20 things on it that you did one time. We want the students to find something they're interested in, find something they enjoy, find something they're passionate about, and dive right in and pursue that. So, you know, when they get to be planning for post-secondary education and they apply to college, they will be listing all the activities that they've done through high school, and it's okay if they only have a few. They're looking for commitment, dedication, and passion. So we want to help the students and foster that, nurture that exploratory phase of finding out what they love to do, and we probably have the opportunity here for them to pursue it. Yes, so through this presentation, we can link to the activities list on our website, but also you can probably find it by just going there. Does anybody have any questions about extracurriculars? Okay.
Okay. So as Ms. Barnum already mentioned, our program of studies night is March 26th, so hopefully you all can make it, even if it's just maybe to come for that AP portion. You probably all are familiar with the process. The teachers will give the recommendations of the core classes to the children. You guys, hopefully they're communicating with you what the recommendations are. It'll be in Aspen. You guys can discuss what those recommendations are, whether you want to override or underride those. Electives get put in, and then individually we will discuss the whole process with each of the kids in our caseload. But the program of studies evening is March 26th. We go through this process with them mid-March through May, so it is kind of a long process, but it's because we see every single student individually. We take it very seriously between the freshmen, sophomore, and juniors, and the juniors are thinking about their path, hopefully connecting some of our classes to their potential work in their next phase. And that's kind of how we work it through. So our sophomores, your little cherubs, we're thinking hard about what their next phase is and whether it is to take those APs and how many and you know what level is appropriate for each student and you know going through graduation requirements. So the process seems kind of long, but we take it very seriously and make sure everybody is balanced and doing the appropriate coursework. So the next, I don't want to scare anybody with the next bullet, but mapping out standardized testing. So as sophomores, how many took the PSATs in the fall? So quite a few of you. Okay, great. So that's a potential test for sophomores. That will be a potential test for them again in the fall as juniors. So that PSAT comes again in the fall, October. It matters a little bit more because there's a scholarship potential attached to it, just an FYI. So there's that, PSAT, fall, junior year. Subject test, SAT subject tests are an individual course academic test that some selective colleges require. It's very few. However, this is something that students and parents should have a conversation with their guidance counselor and teacher about. This is not something that everybody should run out and register through College Board to take. If you think that you might be, your students might be planning on applying to a very selective school, to a very selective program, and they are in a high-level math and science class or high-level English, honors, AP, that might be something for them to talk to their teacher and their guidance counselor about. So it's it's whatever appropriate level they're at right now. They might want to take it depending on what they took last year. If their teacher didn't talk about it with them last year, maybe they want to take it this year depending on what they were in last year. For instance, maybe biology, honors biology. If they're in honors chemistry, if they're in AP Euro, that might be something that they would want to take. Again, it's very far and few with the colleges that require it, but it might be something down the road to think about. Just keep that in mind. So AP tests, as I was saying, again, those are tests that are required if you are enrolled in an AP course. So if you sign up to take an AP class here at Swampscott High School, you are required to take the AP exam that comes at the end of the year with that class. So anyone I shouldn't even ask that, but if you've had sons or daughters that have gone through the process, you know when you take an AP class, you automatically have to take the exam. You'll hear more about this come program of studies night with the AP presentation. And then you take an exam at the end of the year. and you get a score. Ms. Barnum can talk more about that and what that means, and you can hear it at the presentation. But the AP test is an automatic thing that comes with the territory of taking the AP course. So there's not too much for you guys to do about that right now. The MCAS test. So as freshmen, you guys, your sons or daughters should have taken the biology. If not, you can talk to your guidance counselor about that. Some of them might be taking it this year if they were in a certain science last year, but most of them took it as a freshman. This year as sophomores, they will be taking the ELA coming up in March, and then they will take the math in May. And those schedules will be coming out, I'm sure, soon, right? The dates? Do we have them? Okay, March 24th, 25th. Okay, so March 24th, 25th for the ELA MCAS. So we talked about PSATs, and then, so SAT, ACT, again, not to worry about that. You'll take the PSAT in October 1st, but then spring of junior year is when you'll talk about the real SAT, ACT, standardized testing. And we do go over this with you guys again as juniors and junior parent night, and for the kids in junior seminar. We have a testing agency come in and talk about the differences between the SAT and the ACT, and kind of planning out your timeline when they're offered and how to test prep for them. But that's not going to happen until springtime of junior year. As Ms. Barnum said, there is a fun part in the post-secondary planning, and it is trying to figure out who you want to be when you grow up, where you want to go, researching schools, researching careers, and that part will start when we see them in seminar, and it continues throughout junior year. And one of the pieces that they utilize is Naviance, and that's what we offer, but there's plenty of more resources out there. And we say you can start visiting schools at any point. Our juniors are visiting now, especially during February vacation and April vacation, because that's when the college kids are still in session. So you can really understand the vibe of the school and the kids and the atmosphere. So it's really never too early to start seeing a campus and getting a feel of a campus, realizing whether you want to be in a city or in a rural area. Some kids always say, I know I want to go to UMass Amherst. And then when they drive all the way out there and see that it's in the middle of nowhere, they understand that's not what they want. They actually want to be in a lively city. So it's good at any point just to start getting out there. You can never start too early for that. And whenever we post about college fairs, we'll be sending you guys emails about that. Check your emails. We start sending a lot of stuff, information about college fairs, and there may be some local in Boston, but as close as Peabody High School. So when that information gets sent our way, we send it out to you guys. And we say the more research you can do and the sooner you can start doing it, the better off you'll be come this time junior year, and certainly the beginning of senior year. Do you guys have any questions? Sure. It does. The John and Abigail Adams Scholarship, it is this year. It's both. Koplik, yes. Well, we want them to do well because it does count for graduation as well. But if they score within 25% in their district, which is their class, and score at least one advance, there's potential. And the state determines that. It's not a school-based determination. The state determines who gets the John and Abigail Adams Scholarship. And yes, thank you. And you will get notified for that senior year. it's a long process. Yeah. Any other questions? Anyone want to talk about something completely different? Do you want to see a role play? Want me to sing? Do you want to? Yeah. Do you want to see what Naviance looks like? Okay.
Is there anything we didn't cover that you really want to know about or that you're curious about?
Yeah.
Don't be shy.
I know. Sure. Go ahead. Yes. She's asking if parents also get a Naviance password. Yes. So the students have their version, and the parents have their own login, and counselors have their own login. So you will be getting sent a password, username and password.
And it's important moving forward with, oh, thanks. I was just going to say it's important moving forward when you have your login, your student has their login, to make sure that you keep yours separate. There are functions. Oh, hi. There are functions of Naviance when you're on the students that the parents can't see, and vice versa. So you just want to make sure when the students are, especially as you get through senior year, it doesn't make so much of a difference now as they're sophomores, but you don't want to get used to being on mom or dad's or whoever's at home and have all your stuff in there and then have to kind of go back as a student and put it all back into your student login. So if you just keep them separate, that'd be helpful for both of you. I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question. So the question is, when is that released? Well, sometime in the next week or two. Yeah. Just hang on. We had a lot to get through this week. So hopefully, like, maybe I'll do it over vacation, but we've activated your codes. We just haven't sent them out yet. And so what will happen is we'll send out the link. It'll be almost like a templated email. Welcome to Naviance Family Connection. Kind of, here are the tools and resources available to you. It'll send you a unique code. And so when you go on, it'll say, I'm new here, I need to register. You'll enter your code, and then it'll prompt you to enter a unique password for you. And same for students. And so, obviously, we want you and students out there researching. We just don't, like, the seminars will not focus heavily on the college admissions process, again, because we don't want the students to take on any more academic stress. It's really the most important thing that they can be doing now is what we've talked about: getting involved in the community, taking on some roles in extracurricular activities, and doing the best that they possibly can in school, because those will be some of the things that are the most important as they get to the college application process. Who here thinks that their child might be on the 2 or 4 year track for college? So going to college. Yep, sorry, I didn't say that clear. So the question is sort of, how many of you think that your sons or daughters or whoever's at home might be interested in going to a 2 or 4 year college directly after high school? Right, and so as you know, if you've been through it before, we always say the conversations tend to be largely centered around college admissions, but obviously that's not the only track, and there are increasingly more students interested in taking a gap year, so that really just means what it sounds: putting a gap between your high school education and your post-secondary education, and doing something in that gap time. There are a lot of organizations out there that offer different types of programming, some accredited, some not, some related to academics, some not, some volunteer-oriented, some not. So, and actually, we're having 2 come here in the next couple of months. One is EF Education, and the other one will be Verdo, and they're gonna set up some tables, but there'll also be information sessions. And so sophomore students are more than welcome to engage in that part of the process as well. So that'll be happening in the next couple of months. And then certainly some students go right to work, some students consider the military, and the armed forces are regularly sort of scheduling time to come in and do info sessions and set up tables in the auditorium. And so my point really is just that we'll support students in whatever their track is. But as you see from just kind of being around the community, about 92 to 95% of our students continue their education after Swampscott High School in some formal way. And so largely our conversations are oriented around college admissions. Are you guys sick of hearing me talk? I'm so sorry. I know you've all had long days. We really appreciate you coming out. And we'll just give you a quick overview. Do you want me to do this? Great, so this is the home page. This is Rachel Sturma's pretend page. She's a senior right now. So there are a couple tabs at the top. This is the home page, like I said: colleges, careers, and about me. We can show you, where are you headed? Careers, great, we're gonna go to careers. Also, I do like this poll too. A couple years ago, and we meant to do it this year too, but forgot. How many of you are doing now what you thought you were going to do at 16 or 17 or 18? Show of hands. How many of you? One. Same thing a couple years ago. We had almost 100 parents, and we asked the same question. Same answer. One. And we are the same. We are the same. None of us are doing today what we thought we were going to set out. So that's another thing to, to kind of put in the back of your mind or in your thought bubble as you plan with your students, that it's okay to not know the answer. And to kind of learn how to be comfortable with, like, I'm not really sure, I'm undecided, and that there is some comfort in that, because the majority of students don't know, and the majority of adults have realized too that there is a path, and that life can be long and your careers kind of evolve over time, but taking from every individual experience and like putting that in your toolkit and refining who it is that you are and what's important to you, and figuring out what your strengths are. That's really kind of what we focus on as the key. So under careers, there are two, as I said, there are two tools that the students can engage with. One is the Strengths Explorer. The other one is the Career Interest Profiler. The Strengths Explorer is the one that's a little bit more scenario based. Again, and then, okay, you can only take it once, Rachel. Not anymore? Okay. Sure, go ahead. Sometimes. Okay. No, this looks different. Always. Don't worry, guys. Don't worry. Same with the Career Interest Profiler. Looks like they've changed this a little bit. Maybe you can just pick a career in the career cluster just to show like the salary and stuff. And then we'll show you a very quick overview of a college profile and some admissions info. Yeah, this is totally different too, but great information. Yes. Anything. Did someone say accountant? Sure. Okay. All right, so go ahead. So as you can see, there's a number of different tabs at the top: an overview, knowledge and skills, tasks and activities, and then wages, related occupations. So this is good. It's a nice rabbit hole for the students to go down, and this is based on the Hollins type indicator, so the conventional, enterprising, and investigative, sort of connected to your skills, your interests, and your values. And so this is a great starting point. It's nice to give the students a lay of the land first before we go directly into college and the admission stats. We will caution you, just as we will caution the students. We often hear I looked at Naviance and it says I need a 92 to get in. We really want to be careful about how we think about the numbers and how we talk about the numbers with students and with your children. When you look at the numbers, remember that those are just averages, both in Naviance and on global websites like the College Board. These are they are a great jumping off point, and that's about it. It's not yes or no, good or bad, make or break. This is a jumping off point. And so now back to accountants. So you can see the annual salary for accountant in our state compared to the national average. So of course, like if you're looking at Massachusetts, but that may be a little bit different than Maine, maybe different than North Dakota or Florida, for example. So this is helpful for them. And to look again also, I think, at the tasks and activities. Many of the discussions we have are extremely abstract until the students really get out and learn more and feel more. And that would be true for careers, but it's also true for college. So when Julie or Ms. Mazzola was talking about it's never really kind of too early to go exploring, the more that the students see and feel, the more it becomes relevant, the better frame of reference they have for future college campuses, conversations, or what have you that they'll have. It just gives them more information. All right. You're into it. Okay. Want to do a college real quick? All right, so then under colleges, there are two main lists. One is colleges I'm thinking about. The other is colleges I'm applying to. So it's really, think about colleges I'm thinking about as a worksheet. And so you can add or delete. You can see as parents and caregivers. We can see as counselors. Students can see the list of schools. So you can add on as many as you'd like. And then you can click Compare Me. And so Naviance will house your child's GPA, and so when it will be updated within the next couple weeks. So most likely when you log on with your child, you will see their GPA up at the top. So Rachel, top left, Rachel Sturma, she's got an 87.02 is her GPA, and then the SAT score is inputted, or PSAT score will be inputted in there. Students can also edit their profile, so if they wanted to edit their scores, that's also fine. So it's going to show you, again, these are averages. We don't want you to panic. The average GPA for accepted students from Swampscott High School. So of all the students that applied to American University, those that were accepted from Swampscott High School, their average GPA was a 92.6. And their average SAT score on the 1600 scale, which is basically what we're using now, was a 1286. And so you can see, again, this is an average. Rachel, for example, she's got that on our list. We would consider that as a reach, not an impossible reach, not totally unlikely, and you'll know from us as counselors that we are very conservative on both sides. We will never say you are a shoo-in, you will get in there no problem, and we will also never say you shouldn't put that school on your list, you're not going to get in. We encourage the dreams. We absolutely think that students should have them. You never know. We'll talk about the college admissions process and how colleges make admissions decisions next year, but we want students to have a balance. A balanced list is the goal always. And so she might look at American University as a reach, and she may look at Colby Sawyer more as an appropriate target / likely school. And then we'll just maybe click on one school to show all this, maybe just like the admission stats. So Fitchburg State, if you click on it, it's going to give you just like a rough overview, how many students are accepted. Now, these are acceptance rates from just like all of their acceptances, not just Swampscott. You can see how many students are in the school, their most popular majors, what is student life like. Sometimes there are pictures, sometimes there's videos. Admissions, you can click on the admissions tab. It's going to show a scattergram. So for Rachel, it's going to plot her on the graph. I don't see her. Yeah. I don't know why it's not plotting Rachel, but you can see it's showing you the average. Yeah. So Rachel will be right there, kind of where the cursor is. But you can see there's always a range of students who are applying, but you can see for different schools what is the range of students who are accepted. So again, these are just some of the tools. We want to be really careful not to make it so college admissions heavy. We don't want you guys to be nervous or to stress out about this. We promise you your children will be happy when they leave here. They will be excited that we will have a number of different options. There is a school and an environment and a path for everybody. Every time we look at this list, I'm always like, oh, that school too, that's such a great spot. Or that school, there are thousands of them. We don't want you to worry about any of it. It's going to be fine, promise. Okay, great. Anything else? Questions? Yeah, hi. Yeah. Yes. Yes. So the question is, if I understand you, Shelley, is when will the students will have access starting the next couple of weeks. We will get them on. We spend a lot of time with them as juniors going over this kind of thing. As sophomores, like I said, we really try hard not to do this because they get stuck on the numbers, and like I said, they have enough academic stress. The focus right now, really, we feel very much needs to be here. We want to give them some information, but we do not want to overwhelm them and inundate them with that. They have enough on their plate right now. And again, their success in terms of college admissions and acceptances will largely be determined by their achievement in school and how well they did and the relationships that they develop with their faculty members and their counselors and all that. It's all tied in together. And so we want them to focus on the here and now, right now. So we don't spend a lot of time on Naviance in sophomore year. With Strengths Explorer and Career Interest Profiler, they can do them whenever they want and kind of look at the responses. And then in junior year, we'll really go through and walk them through the whole kit and caboodle. I haven't said that in a really long time. It just kind of came out of nowhere. Sorry. What were you guys? Yeah. Yeah. What was the final question? Go ahead. Oh yeah, tying it all together. Thank you. We will. Yeah. Yeah. So the girls are saying if we have time in sophomore seminar, we can get them on to Naviance, but we will in course selection meetings talk about their careers, their schedule, and how it all ties together. Yes, absolutely. And we're mindful of that early on. For many students, their courses will be important sophomore, junior, and senior year if they are planning specific tracks like a biological science track or engineering. There are opportunities that are offered year to year that we'll want to make sure that they have available to them. So yes, we would tie that all together, or we hope to anyway. Other thoughts or questions or anything we didn't cover that you guys want to talk about? You can talk about that, Linda. Real estate, the president, anything else? Dangerous. That's dangerous territory. Yes. That's a great question. So the question is the GPA that's in Naviance the weighted or the unweighted? And the answer is weighted. And that the weighted GPA is what we report on the transcript. That you'll see on the report card that there's a number of different categories like quarterly weighted and unweighted and cum. We report only ever the weighted GPA, and so that's what's reflected in Naviance. Any other thoughts? You're pointing out a complex challenge to the college admissions game or strategy or thought or process. So Linda said, well, sometimes they don't always use that GPA. And so you're right, they don't always. So the challenge with college admissions committee is everyone kind of has their own process and their own way of approaching a student transcript and a GPA. So in some cases, like the UMass school system, for example, or the Massachusetts State University system will recalculate the GPA. So they'll take your student's GPA. They recognize what their GPA is that we report, but then they'll try to standardize their own process internally by recalculating a GPA and coming up with their own new GPA. And each school does things a little bit differently. So a school like Emerson, for example, may assign a rigor rating for AP that is higher than an honors level class, for example, or an ACP level class, and that might bump up their GPA even more, whereas internally at Swampscott High School, we assign honors and AP the same weight, for example. So the answer, as you'll hear us say a lot next year when you ask a lot of questions, will be, it depends. And so the answer to that is, it depends. And so another reason why we always say to students, like, you take the most amount of core courses. We recommend all core courses all 4 years, and to just do the best you can in all of them all the time for every student at every level. Any other thoughts? Yeah, that's appropriate. Yeah, that's appropriate for your student level. Yes. Yeah. Your gym grade, anything that you get credit for here that has a numeric value attached to it goes into your GPA. Whether a college then considers that something that they want to use as part of the recalculated GPA is up to them. But that's never published outside of the Massachusetts system will show you how to recalculate your GPA, and you can do that on your own. But yes, anything that's in our that has a numeric value will be incorporated in the GPA. Yeah. it just gets complicated. So the question is about community service programs offered through the school. There are the Interact Club offers community service, so they are a community service oriented organization at school, so there are community service activities connected with that, so that would be an opportunity through a school sanctioned organization. We're also in talks with the senior center, but that's something also that the students can initiate on their own to develop a relationship with the senior center. Outside of that, am I missing things? What am I missing? Anything? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Project Bread, yeah. Rovers, Project Bread, yeah. Any other thoughts? Are you guys nervous? Yes, Shelly. No, don't be sorry. I didn't hear the question. Did you say, was there an email? It was. Yeah, so, and I'm sorry, I meant to send out a reminder about it, but I didn't send out a reminder. But I would say, yes, we will communicate with students and parents about class-specific activities, but if you don't read the Big Blue Blast, I would suggest that you do read the Big Blue Blast, because sometimes, like, we are only 3 people in charge of an entire department and a lot of activities that are coming and going at all times. So if I've given it to Mr. Kohut to share the Big Blue Blast, in my mind, I'm sort of thinking that the information is out there. But yes, we will regularly be communicating. And I would say too, when you log into Naviance, make sure that email address is something that you use, because we sometimes will use Naviance more as sophomore, junior year comes along, and we will use that to email blast parents instead of Aspen, just specifically, and it'll come from one of us. Or Lisa Brown, who's our assistant. So again, like things like college fair is coming up, we might email blast about that, or PSATs or SATs, or preparing for college fair, what that looks like. We haven't spent a lot of time blogging this year, but any updated blog posts or student news or alumni news, we'll generally use that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Correct. Yes, except for I believe that I will be pulling from Aspen. So the question is about, like, yes, you will get an email from the school. So it seems contradictory that I will have had your email address, but then I'll ask you to make sure it's current. So I would say if your email address is the one that you get it on is an Aspen one that you have in Aspen and you don't use it, then I would suggest 2 things. One, update it in Naviance, and also email the front office and change it. Because we do get that a lot, that sometimes parents will use one that's kind of like for junky email, that they don't want like all their, their Gap sales stuff going to their main inbox. So they might do it that way, but so yes. But I pull from Aspen for the database when we pull over your information. Anything else? How are the kids doing in sophomore year? How's sophomore year going? It's okay? Good? Good. Yeah. I know, it's sort of like, I was just saying as I walked in, it's sort of like, feels a little bit like the middle school of high school. It's sort of like this weird in between where you're in the, like, I think the calm before storm, like the eye of the storm. And before you know it, all of a sudden, it feels like we're on an accelerated track. But we do see the students. Like, I was in a chemistry class today, covering for a teacher, and Julie was in an English class. So we're always kind of out there and doing things, and it is so nice to see the students, and they seem to be doing great. I was in the chemistry class doing periodic table stuff, and it was really nice to see the students engage with each other, and the teacher kind of walk around and do the interactive periodic table, like finding the patterns. But the kids seem to be doing really well. But please let us know how we can help support you guys and help support them. And if there's any other information that you would like to know. Again, the purpose of tonight is really just so we can see you and so you can see us. And definitely, if there are things we're missing or things you want to know about or more about, definitely let us know. All right, well, geez, guys, that's a wrap. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it.